my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, nah, unlikely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into...
What is up, Steeler Nation? Welcome back to State of the Steelers on this victory afternoon for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they beat the Carolina Panthers today, 24-16. And the game, in my opinion, was a little bit more dominant than what the score may have appeared. Please hit that like button if I sound all right. Let me know in the live chat if I sound a little bit off. Let me know where you're coming from. I'm coming from San Antonio, Texas. It was a great day today. The Steelers won. It's been a great weekend. And so the Steelers go up to 6-8. Still some hope in the playoffs. You know, I know that's probably a little bit too far out in the future, but you know, to be looking at that, and but there's still a chance. Now, realistically, the Steelers have moved up. They're 6-8. They can't lose another game if they want to have a hope for the playoffs, or if they want to maintain their, Mike Tomlin not having a losing season. And so those things are important to them individually, and for sure the playoffs are. And so this team's going to be putting their best foot forward. I liked a lot of what I saw. I saw a lot of bone-headed plays too, and we'll get into those. And so let's talk about the game first and foremost. Pittsburgh Steelers won 24-16. Mitch Trubisky was 17-22, 179 yards, 8.1 average, no touchdowns through the air, no interceptions, was sacked once for 10 yards with a rating of 100.4. To Sam Darnold, who was 14-23, 225 yards, 9.8 average, 1 TD, 4 sacks for 37 yards. The Steelers had pressure on him. It was a homecoming game for Alex Highsmith, and he made his presence known early and often. You know, TJ Watt looked a lot more like TJ Watt. Even Terrell Edmonds was getting into it. He bull rushed the left tackle of the Carolina Panthers, knocked him on the ground, and was able to apply some pressure on Sam Darnold. And so here's where I think that the Steelers really did fantastic. The Steelers rushing was Najee Harris was 24 carries for 86 yards. You know, it's only a 3.6 average. In the second half, he wasn't as dominant as he was in the first half, but he was having his way with the offensive line in total for majority of the game. Were having their way with the Carolina Panthers. Jalen Warren was 11 carries for 38 attempts, 3.5 average. Both Najee and both Jalen Warren got a touchdown on the ground in this game. The 1-2 punch between those two gentlemen is fantastic. Steven Sims, he had a 22-yard. That was the most impressive. He was 2 carries for 19 yards, but he had a 22-yard long on a jet sweep that kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't anticipating him to go there. And it caught the Carolina Panthers team off guard, and it was a great play. Derek Watt is doing some great things out there when he's getting first downs when his number is called. He's doing well on pass protection when he's in that when given that opportunity. A lot of folks going into this season were pretty upset with with Derek Watt due to the fact that how much he was getting paid, which really wasn't a lot, but he's one of the highest paid fullbacks there is. So it is what it is. Last season he was more of just special teams. This year he's really making, putting a role out there on that short and one, 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 2 type of situations. They're handing him the ball and he's making something out of nothing. And he's pushing the pile forward and getting those conversions. He's doing a great job. Mitch Trubisky had a few quarterback sneaks. He also was doing a pretty good job with that as well. He had a touchdown. Receiving wise, I think that this was a redemption game for Diontae Johnson. I think Diontae Johnson did an amazing job. Diontae Johnson had 10 receptions for 98 yards, 9.8 yards, 19 long on 10 targets. So everything that went Diontae Johnson's way, he caught it, and then he did something with it. Majority of the time was move forward, and he was able to juke and wiggle when it was appropriate and then create more yards. I think this was a fantastic game for him, and it's possibly, it's no coincidence that Diontae Johnson plays a little bit more as he's starting to get more targets. Last week, he got quite a few targets. A lot of us, including myself, were kind of upset about the amount of targets that he had, referencing that those targets could have been, directed elsewhere, George Pickens. And, perhaps maybe in these two games, Diontae Johnson started to get a rhythm, and because of the targets that were thrown to him and the quarterback getting comfortable with him, it seemed like they were on the same page. And it really showed, 10 targets, 10 receptions, 98 yards. And he had some fantastic plays where he was or could have or should have been tackled before the line of gain and was able to pass it. And so I think he did a fantastic job. Oh man, I put out here on the banner the call, and we won't be taking calls today, but we will be taking calls later this week. So make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. So if you want to come out later this week on our show where we take your calls, we can do so. But I think Diontae Johnson did an amazing job. One thing though, you can't get up. I don't even understand some of these personal foul penalties that the Steelers got today. One of them being Diontae Johnson. Like, he made a great play. It was third down. He did amazing. And then you turn around and just kind of like, you're asking for a penalty when you get into the face of the defender. You know what I'm saying? It just did not make any sense to me. Why he would have done that. I know his emotions were riding high. He's probably seen a lot of the stuff that's out there about him, the complaints, they shouldn't have given him the contract talk, things of that nature. And so I think that on that penalty was a boneheaded penalty, but the worst boneheaded penalty came from none other than Marcus Allen. Like, I don't understand what you're doing in that situation. I mean, it's so, and so for those that didn't watch the game or didn't catch that portion of the game, the Steelers had sacked Sam Darnold after, this was a drive where they made a big play into Steelers territory and then were sacked on 2 consecutive plays, were pushed out of field goal range. And during a break or whatever, a timeout, they're lining up to punt the ball. Marcus Allen begins to prance around the field and then goes up to one of the Carolina players, kind of gets in his face, and then prances over to the Carolina sideline and is there inside their huddle. I just don't understand, why he would go to their huddle and, like it just, that it's not like it was during the, it wasn't like he was just on the field. He wasn't. It wasn't like he just made a play, got up, was full of emotion, or somebody made a bad play against him, whether they held him or hit him late or any of those things. He was on the sideline up until that point. He entered the game and just began to prance around and then go and bump into a couple of, one player and then they and then go into their sideline huddle. Made no sense. It allowed the Panthers to move the ball forward and get into field goal range and score a field goal and keep them in the game. It really did. It was a poor example of professional football, in my opinion, and so poor that I'm not saying the Steelers should fire him, cut him, or things of that nature, but I don't think he should be dressed in the next game, to say the least. I wouldn't be heartbroken or upset if the Pittsburgh Steelers cut him right out for doing something like that, because that's classless, that's stupid, and it cost points and put the opposition back into a game that the Steelers were dominating. And so when you put all those things together, in my opinion, it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. I was surprised he went back out on the field. Um, it's insane. Now, the other thing is Dotson. You had a good game, but man, you got to watch out with those false start penalties. I mean, this is becoming a habit at this point. He had two. Fortunately, one was basically wiped off when on the very next play, the opposition, the Panthers went off sides towards the Steelers. And so, he got away with one in that situation. But like those penalties have been known to be killing drives. This is why the Steelers haven't been able to put up many points. This is why a lot of the times, and up until this point where those things would happen, they were unable to overcome those type of penalties. And they were just dumb penalties that we're asking for, or just making the first down, that much difficult that the Steelers were just not converting. And it killed games and things of that nature. Fortunately, now the Steelers are kind of, gelling together and getting in a better groove. But, going up against a better team and making those type of dumb mistakes that they made before that we were referencing, and also just having these false starts isn't gonna be a formula for a successful football game. And so, the Pittsburgh Steelers need to work on that. These dumb penalties, man, they need to go. They need to go. I ended up coming into the live stream before the game ended and was putting up the broadcast here, and I was listening to Mark Davison on Steelers Nation Australia, and they were talking about Pickens walking over a ref. I didn't see that play, so if you guys don't mind telling me what happened in the live chat, that'd be great. That it wasn't a good look. I don't know. I didn't see it. Now, as far as the Carolina Panthers rushing, man, the Steelers defense did amazing when it came to that portion of the field or the game. They held this team down to 21 yards on 16 carries. That's a 1.3 yard average with a long of 5 yards. The Steelers defense did fantastic. They looked healthy. I think it was no strain, or it's probably no coincidence that the reason why they looked healthy and they looked not tired, they looked refreshed, was probably because of the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers offense was maintaining possession of the ball for the majority of this game. I mean, you look at that third quarter opening drive that the Steelers had. It took over almost 13 minutes of the clock. I think it was something like 22 plays, and it ended with 7. You know what I'm saying? And so, it wasn't just taking time off the clock, running a bunch of plays, and then kicking a field goal. In this game, the Steelers converted more of those. They kind of fell apart a little bit at the end, but I think that, and that just comes to, in my opinion, is immaturity and youngness. You have a game that the Steelers are in a little bit of control for the first time in probably this entire season. And, they don't know how to act. You got to act like you've been there before. They start acting stupid. They start getting in the face of other players and getting these penalties, and they almost shot themselves in the foot. I hope that they can learn from this experience, and, it's good to learn and win, but this game should not have come down to 8 points. This game should have been something like 24 to, I don't know, maybe 7, maybe 10. I don't know. This game should not have been this close. It was, in my opinion, is a young rookie team that wasn't acting like they'd been there before, and they need to turn that around. They almost let it slip out of their hands. Now, in and around the NFL, that's going to help the Steelers this week. You're looking at the New York Jets lost, and so that helps the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to look at the scoreboard real quick and see who else was on there. The Colts lost. That one was crazy. Miami also lost. Baltimore lost. Man, the Steelers should have really won that game last week. They really kind of screwed themselves in losing to the Baltimore Ravens last week. But let's see. If you have any questions or about the comments about the game, send them into the live chat. We'll bring them up and we'll talk about them. George Tesson says, Mark Sallin's just asking, what was a good club to go after the game? That's funny. Bears lost. Man, that second round pick that we got for Chase Claypool is sure looking really, really nice right now. And the direction that the Bears are going, I anticipate that that's going to be a very, very high second round pick. That was a good thing that the Steelers traded Claypool. I know there was a lot of question between Claypool and Diontae, and you can't just look at a one-game sample and say, hey, Diontae Johnson had a fantastic game. He's a wide receiver number one. He shouldn't, get paid more, yada, yada, yada. He needs to be a little bit more consistent and show this, but he's on the right path, in my opinion. Last week he played, in my opinion, he was about a little bit above average, but in this week he played fantastic. He played great. If he can continue in this fashion, and I don't want to look ahead into next year or anything like that, but I anticipate the Steelers are probably going to draft a receiver in the draft, maybe a high pick. Not sure. It depends on how they feel and how comfortable they are with Calvin Austin III on his injury and where he's at come training camp and things, or come the mini camps that come after the season ends. And so, or once the new season starts, I'm sorry. They're going to see where he's at. They're going to see where his progression is post his injury. And, this team, is on the rise, in my opinion. And it's good to see these little steps going forward. This one, in my opinion, was a big step. They converted field goals into touchdowns most of the time. I know they had one field goal on the board. And they kind of were playing not so great in the fourth quarter, but bend but don't break. Bend but don't break. Let's see. Jared Devil says that, and I'm reckoning he's probably talking about Marcus Allen, that he was asking for a TikTok collab. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see. Elaine Blystone says, go Steelers. Yes. George Teston goes, what was on the menu today, Steelers fan? Actually, I can tell you what it was. Steelers fan is Mrs. J. That's just my wife. So we had some Mexican food from down the not too far from the house. It was really good. I had something called a torta, and what did she have? Oh, she had chalupas. My wife's pregnant, y'all, so she had chalupas and an enchilada, and she's got a lot of different cravings and stuff right now. A lot of stuff that she wasn't, so keen on, especially the spicier stuff. She was very not into spicy stuff before, and today she was eating hot sauce that was a little bit too warm for me, and she was having no problems with it. So it was a good day. We had a good lunch, and then we watched the game. But back to the game. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are making that improvement. They're showing a little bit step forward, especially, they're going on a short week now. They play on Saturday on Christmas Eve. This is the, a big game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a game that the Steelers are going to have, some of the, I'm sure a lot of the historical players for the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be there. They're going to be retiring. Franco Harris's jersey number 32 at halftime at this game. And so there's anybody that's been a Steeler is probably going to be at this game. It's a big one that the Steelers are going to need to win. And the big question is, which I think everybody knows the answer is Kenny Pickett's able to go? Does he go in? And I think the answer is hell yeah. As good as Mitch Trubisky did today, he had some throws in there that were like flashes of why I have a problem with Trubisky. You're looking at he had almost 2 interceptions trying to force the ball into Pickens there, and they were kind of bad. And one of them, he almost had Pickens like cut in half if he connects on that. And so it is what it is. In my opinion, he did some good things. He was able to move around. But I still say you put in the kid to see what he has and see his progression and his development. The kid is the future. Trubisky was a bridge. It's a short bridge. Let's see. Big Blue Daniel Rocha in the house. How's it going, buddy? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Oh man, you know what? So Daniel Rocha is a Chicago Bear fan. How do you guys feel about the Claypool trade? Were you guys hyped about it? Are you guys having some buyer's remorse right now? Let me know what you think, man. Let me know what you think in the live chat. Appreciate you being in the show. Let's see. George Teston says that he believes that Kenny Pickett should be back next week. I think so too. I think that he didn't get cleared because He didn't practice. I think he wasn't a full participant for 2 days in a row. I anticipate that not being the case this week, even on a short week. I anticipate him probably practicing fully early on in this week and be a part of the offense and back out on the field. I think what Mitch Trubisky was able to do today was enough to get the Steelers out of the stadium. I think he did well. I know I was listening in and let's see. And I was listening into Mark, and he was talking about, Mitch potentially being a number 2 next year for the Steelers. I'm not so certain. I think Mitch wants to be a starter in this league. So, there might be a situation where he may leave. He only has one season left on his contract. Mr. Marlowe says, I didn't see him forcing any passes. And look at it this way. Pickens didn't want to make the catch. Juju would have and got hit. Hines Ward would have. Boykins would have. I don't know, man. I don't think it even came close to hitting Pickens. I think it hit. It deflected off of the off the guy that was trying to make an interception. That guy had the interception. Like, I don't know why he whiffed on it. Like, no ands, ifs, or buts about it. The guy whiffed on the pick, and then there was a second one on the sideline that was pretty close. The defender was able to tip the ball, and as Pickens was going to the sideline. I'm not saying Mitch played bad by any means. I think he played all right, but Mitch is what he is at the end of the day. Let's see. Both times it touches his hands, and Rose, if it touches your hands, you catch the ball. You pull back his hands, cross the middle. I mean, I get it. I understand, but when somebody's deflecting the ball, and this is in both situations, when you're that close to where the ball is, that's gonna make for a very difficult catch. I mean, you've seen some of the catches that Pickens has done. I don't think you want to go down the narrative that Pickens couldn't catch that ball, in my opinion. He's caught some crazy passes that not any other receiver could have. And so if he's not able to catch it, it's probably a good reason. Let's see. But yeah, like I said, Mitch, I think he did an all right job. I think the Steelers didn't want to put the ball into his hands too many times. In fact, they didn't. It was 22 times. And he was efficient. He was 17 to 22 throwing to Diontae Johnson, which is something that he did early on in the season when he was a starter. Diontae Johnson didn't drop any of the passes this time around. And so, that helped as well. Definitely so. Let's see. Now, on the defensive side, I think I would have liked to have seen Mark Robinson play a little bit more, especially in lieu of Robert Spillane. He had a huge miss down the sideline that was he just got outran by Hubbard. And so, I would have liked to have seen, I don't think I saw Mark Robinson out there on the defense. I think he was on special teams only. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he came in and I just didn't see him. But I would have liked to have seen Mark Robinson out there a little bit more or at all. I think that Robert Spillane he's figured out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not the most talented athletic guy that's out there as far as middle linebackers go. And so everything when it comes to Robert is like above the shoulders and that goes a certain point. You got to be talented enough to run with some of these people as well. And so, for him not being able to do so, it comes to a point where he's become a liability, especially in the passing game. And offenses are seeing that, opposing offenses. And they're targeting the running back or the tight end or the receiver, the slot that he's having to cover when he is out there. And they're winning that matchup more often than not. And so, in my opinion, it's one of those things where, I would like to see a little bit more Mark Robinson in this. Let's see. Larry Lewis goes, right here, Trubisky's praises, but for me, I could care less after he derailed the train last week. Not for me, bud. I'm not cool with him handing the game over last week all by himself. I don't disagree with you. I don't. That game last week was not a great performance by him. But then again, I mean, every quarterback is going to have a bad game. And Ben Roethlisberger had multiple interception games. Now, the problem with what Mitch Trubisky did last week and even flashed this week is on those interceptions that he almost had this week where the ball was tipped, and the interceptions that he had last week are things that he's had happen to him in the past because he doesn't look off the receiver or the main receiver. And that's been an issue of his since Chicago. And so those things aren't being fixed. He's not in my opinion, he's not a franchise guy. And so I don't know if Kenny Pickett is or not. And so we need to figure that part out. It's too early in that guy's career to figure it out. But when you have a career like Mr. Trubisky, where he's been in the league for like 6 years now, and it's the same stuff that he's been doing that's caused him some issues, that caused the turnovers. At a certain point, you are who you are. Now, can Trubisky get a team out of a stadium if need be? Yeah, I think he can. I think he can. If you limit the amount of times that he throws, you keep him under 30 throws, and you have an efficient running game, and teams can't just like pin their ears back and go after you. I think you can have an extremely effective game. He had one today. In fact, the announcer spoke about it earlier. They were saying that there wasn't any obvious passing downs, and that's why they couldn't really blitz Mitch Trubisky early. As the game progressed and they were able to kind of, stop Najee Harris from killing them, they ended up turning to, more obvious passing downs, and that pressure is what led to some of those aired passes. But overall, man, it was a good game. We won, and that's all I'm glad about at this point. There's only so many games left in the season. I did I have an audio only podcast with Behind the Steel Curtain. Those things air out on Saturday morning, and my title of that podcast that aired out yesterday was, it's just time to enjoy Steelers football. The NFL is so short, right? You have 17 weeks, 18 weeks when you count the bye. And if your team doesn't make the playoffs, that's where you stop, right? The rest of the year is waiting on football to start and wanting to see your team play. Right now, that's the only thing that I'm doing is I'm enjoying this game. I'm enjoying the outcome of the game. And I'm enjoying seeing this team make steps in the right direction. It'll lead to, seeing where they're going and who's being left behind, like Robert Spillane, so to speak. And I hate to call him out, but it's been the same story with him as well. Devin Bush is another guy. Although I think Devin had a better game this week than last. But those you see where those holes that are, or those guys that are holding you back, so to speak. Once you can identify them, once you're doing better things across the board and execution is happening, you can identify where those holes are. And then once you can do that, then you can start to fix them. And that's what I think the Steelers are doing at this point. I don't think they're taking this season one game at a time. And if they're in contention, they're going, that goal is still to be in the playoffs. If not, the goal is still to win and to put the best foot forward to be respectable. And Mike Tomlin brought it up before. They put themselves in a hole of an unrespectable team, and that they had to dig themselves out. And there's a good opportunity that they can. The Steelers are playing a Raiders team in Pittsburgh. It should be a cold game. The Raiders are a team that's from the West. Well, they're not really the West Coast. They're from Vegas, but it's much warmer temperature. They play inside of a dome. Going outside and getting in the weather and acclimated to the weather could be a positive thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that's all I got for you guys today. I want to say thank you to everybody in the live chat that commented and came through. Steelers win. It was a good win. It was a good day. I'm excited. I'm excited for the next game, see what the Pittsburgh Steelers can do. The only thing that I hope for at this point right now is that the Steelers go out with a winning record. And if that means that they get in the playoffs, great. If that doesn't, then that means that the Steelers ended up on a high note and building confidence and have that momentum swinging into next season, where then maybe perhaps they can be a contender. But I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers. Thank you guys. And Steelers win. Let's go. Let's get another dub.